Okay, so Unit 9, Day 5, finding ratios. This is the last video for this unit, so that means test is coming up. We're reviewing next time, test offer, okay? So finding ratios, you have this little chart. Let's just do sine of 150. Please take good notes on this. So first we need to figure out what quadrant is 150 degrees in. It is in the second quadrant, right there. Okay, and we want to figure out what is the reference angle right there. So that is closer to 180 than it is to 360. So I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract 150. And I get 30 degrees. So I need to find sine of 30 degrees. Well, we have a 30, 60, 90 triangle where the opposite of 30 is x, opposite of 60 is x squared to 3, hypotenuse is 2x. So if I'm finding sine, I need to label my sides. So x is the opposite, x squared to 3 is the adjacent, hypotenuse is 2x. So then that's going to be sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent with the SOHCAHTOA. So sine of 30 is opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite side is x. The hypotenuse is 2x. Those x's cancel and you're left with 1/2. So sine of 30 is 1/2. But I'm finding sine of 150. So I need to see if sine is positive in the second quadrant. So that's all students take calculus. Sine is positive in the second quadrant, which means that sine of 150 is positive 1/2. Okay? We're doing tangent of 300 now. So again, what quadrant is 300 in? It is in the fourth quadrant. The reference angle there, that is closer to 360, so I'm going to take 360, subtract 300, you get 60 degrees. So I'm going to find the tangent of 60 degrees. Again, I'm going to use the 30, 60, 90 triangle, but now I'm using 60 degrees. So I can label those sides. X squared to 3 is the opposite. X is the adjacent. 2x is the hypotenuse. So tangent of 60 is opposite over adjacent, which the opposite side is x squared to 3. The adjacent side is x. Those x's cancel, and I'm just left with the square root of 3. And then I just need to figure out, is that going to be positive or negative? So it's in the fourth quadrant. All students take calculus. Cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant, which means that tangent is negative. So the tangent of 300 is negative square root of 3. Okay. Cosine of 225. Again, start by saying what quadrant it's in. So that is in the third quadrant. The reference angle there, I'm going to take, that's closer to 180, so I'm going to take 225, subtract 180, and I get 45. Okay, sorry, got interrupted, but so the reference angle, 225 is closer to 180 than it is to 360, so you do 225 minus 180, you get 45. So let's find the cosine of 45 degrees. I'm going to use the 45, 45, 90 triangle now. I'm going to label those sides, so x is the opposite, adjacent is also x, hypotenuse is x squared to 2. So then cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, which is going to be x over x squared root of 2, which is 1 over the square root of 2. And then we have to get that square root of 2 out of the denominator, so multiply it square root of 2 to top and bottom. So you get the square root of 2 over 2. So cosine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. I need to figure out what cosine of 225 is. I just need to figure out the sine. So all students take calculus. Tangent is positive in the third quadrant, which means cosine is negative. So cosine of 225 is negative square root of 2 over 2. Okay, I want you guys to do those ones. And let's go to this one. So cosine of 11 pi over 6. The first thing I want you to do is convert that to degrees. So I'm going to take 11 pi over 6 and multiply by 180 over pi. Those pi's cancel, and I'm left with 11 times 180 divided by 6. You get 330. So that's going to be the cosine of 330 degrees. Let's figure out what quadrant that's in. It's in the fourth quadrant. Reference angle, take 360 and subtract 330, you get 30. So the cosine of 30 degrees, use the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of 30 is going to be x squared roots of 3 over 2x, which is the square root of 3 over 2. Now I need to figure out if that's going to be positive or negative. So all sine, tangent, cosine. So cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. I was finding cosine of 11 pi 6, or cosine of 330. So that means that is also positive. So cosine of 11 pi 6 is positive square root of 3 over 2. Okay. Cosecant of 7 pi over 4. So first, let's convert to degrees. So 7 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. You're left with 7 times 180 divided by 4, which is 315. So let's find the cosecant of 315. So the quadrant, that's in the fourth quadrant. My reference angle, 360 minus 315 is 45. Now cosecant of 45. So again, use the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Now cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, which means that cosecant is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So I'm going to find the cosecant of 45. That's going to be hypotenuse over opposite, which is x squared roots of 2 over x. Those x's cancel, and I'm just left with the square root of 2. Now I need to see, is that going to be positive or negative? So again, all students take calculus. Cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant, which means sine is negative, which means cosecant is also negative, because cosecant and sine keep the same sign. Okay, so cosecant of 7 pi fourths is going to be negative square root of 2. Now let's do sine of 4 pi over 3. Convert it to degrees, multiply by 180 over pi. That's 4 times 180 divided by 3, which is 240. So the sine of 240. Let's find the quadrant. 240 is in the third quadrant. The reference angle there is 240 minus 180, which is 60. So sine of 60, I'm going to use the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Now, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So that's going to be x squared roots of 3 over 2x. Those x's cancel. I'm left with the square root of 3 over 2. Then I just need to see if that's positive. So all students take calculus. Tangent is positive in the third quadrant, which means sine is negative. So sine of 4 pi over 3 is negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about before I end this, if you're asked to find the sine of 30 degrees. Okay, first let's find the quadrant that's in. So that quadrant is the first quadrant. We don't need to find a reference angle for this one. This one, I know that the sine of 30 degrees is, that's just going to stay sine of 30 degrees. So I can just use my 30, 60, 90 triangle. This is x square roots of 3, this is 2x. Sine of 30 is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's x over 2x, which is 1/2. And you're done. So if it's in the first quadrant and it's 30, 60, or 45, you just find the sine or the cosine or the tangent, whatever it may be, of that angle. You don't have to find the reference angle. Okay, I'll go over that more in class. Please make sure to take the quiz, and I will see you guys tomorrow.